Tonight, the man at the centre of an arrest that sparked public outrage tells his side of the story exclusively to 10 News First. A man plummets 17 stories to his death after attempting to climb between balconies on a city high-rise. The tide turns on two rescued boaties as the mammoth cost of searching for them begins to become clear. And the pageant finds a new pitch. Santa bringing his sleigh to Adelaide Oval for a special Twilight show.
This is 10 News First Adelaide with Rebecca Morse.
Good evening. A 28-year-old Indigenous man filmed being struck by a police officer during a heated arrest at Kilburn last month has broken his silence. He's facing multiple charges over the incident, while police have been cleared of any wrongdoing.
The 28-year-old father's arrest is confronting to watch. Pinned face down by three police officers, Noel Henry appears to be struck to the head several times in Adelaide's north in June. Henry, who was in court on an unrelated weapons charge, hasn't spoken about the incident publicly until today, revealing why he was approached by the officers in the first place.
I was riding a pushback with no helmet and no lights, so basically it's a joke.
What happened next, he says, came as a total shock.
What happened was they was trying to search me, and I didn't have nothing on me, and then he attacked me and pulled my hands back like that, and slammed me to the ground and beat me. That's all I can say.
Henry describing the injuries he says he suffered during the violent confrontation.
Yeah, I was concussed, basically, but I was pepper sprayed and maced or whatever else.
The incident happened less than 3 weeks after the death of George Floyd in the United States, again putting police under the spotlight.
What's wrong with you?
South Australia Police launched an investigation into the incident at the time, with every officer involved found to have been acting appropriately and cleared of any wrongdoing. What was your reaction when you heard there won't be consequences?
I was disgusted. Yeah, that's all.
Instead, it's Henry who's facing charges, hindering police, resisting arrest and property damage.
They could have approached the situation a bit better.
He'll face court on those charges next month. Kate Summers for 10 News First.
A man's died after falling from the 17th story of a city apartment building. Police believe he was trying to reach a neighbouring balcony when he slipped.
A dangerous stunt on a high-rise building ends in tragedy. Emergency crews called Central Adelaide Apartments on Grote Street just before 1 this morning.
I saw a lot of police cars around me, and they were hovering around, and they asked me to move pretty slowly because they were inspecting something.
While mystery surrounds the death, it's believed the 27-year-old man was on the 17th floor trying to climb across to a balcony next door. When he fell, he died at the scene.
It's terrible. It's terribly sad.
It's pretty scary, but mentioning on the 17th floor, it's like one floor below the rooftop, which is absolutely terrifying.
I feel sorry for him and for the family. My wishes are with them.
Other residents baffled as to how the man managed to climb over the balcony's railings in the first place.
They're about chest high, I'd say, so I can't even imagine how he'd go over that.
They have barriers from one apartment to the other, so for someone else to move from that to the other, it's not an easy thing to do, and it's a massive risk.
It's still unclear why the man tried such a dangerous manoeuvre. Investigations are continuing.
His next of kin's been notified. Police aren't treating the death as suspicious. Tiffany Warren for 10 News First.
Volunteers involved in the rescue of two men presumed missing at sea have labelled their actions as reckless. They estimate the cost to the public of the search operation is more than $1 million, which could have been avoided if the pair had appropriate safety gear.
A boating misadventure that launched South Australia's largest ever maritime search. Derek Robinson and Tony Higgins found alive and well after the pair were missing for 4 days.
I think everybody was concerned about their welfare, so to see them safe and well is a really positive thing.
The safety equipment on board their leaky 30-foot wooden fishing vessel has left the skipper in hot water. Tony Higgins slapped with a $1,000 fine after water police discovered his flares and EPIRB are out of date. But the real cost was to the taxpayer. The extensive search operation covering more than 100,000 square kilometres.
My guess would be in the millions. We had the Air Force, we had the helicopter up, we had Coast Guard boats going, I dare say sea rescuer out.
I think it's reasonable to assume that it's a fairly substantial input from the emergency services network and also the Commonwealth.
Radio operators left frustrated after repeated attempts to contact the pair proved futile as they ventured through some of the country's most unforgiving waters on the southern side of Kangaroo Island.
It was very irresponsible. It would have been so much easier if the radios had been on. People put their lives on the line to go and try and find these men. You know, it's totally reckless.
Sea Rescue says it's crucial that all boats are fitted with the proper safety equipment because even calm conditions like these can change in the blink of an eye.
It can go from having the best time in the world to beam me up now, Scotty, in about 2 minutes.
Cam Inglis for 10 News First.
A new COVID case has been recorded in SA today in a woman in her 20s who's arrived from overseas. She's tested positive within quarantine and it's not deemed that she's posed a risk to anyone else. But details of our COVID-safe Christmas have been revealed today. Chloe Burris, you're at the new home of the Pageant.
Yes, when Santa Claus comes to town, he'll make a beeline for Adelaide Oval. After a lot of back and forth between pageant directors and SA Health, they've finally come up with a way to make the very popular event COVID safe and socially distanced. It won't be a traditional pageant, but it will be spectacular. Adelaide's Christmas pageant, helping parents put runs on the board since 1933. And the most wonderful time of the year can still be so, even in 2020.
The National Pharmacy's 2020 Christmas pageant will go ahead, but in a slightly different format than usual.
Instead of 300,000 people lining the city streets, up to 25,000 will be seated at Adelaide Oval on November 14.
A twilight event in an arena. Think opening ceremonies, think that sort of thing, and how exciting it's going to be.
And free. A ticket will be on the wish list of many, but not even being extra nice can guarantee one under the tree.
We're going to have a ballot because I think there are going to be a lot of people that want to come along.
The parade will start at 7 p.m. The floats will come in here through the northern entrance, then do a lap or two of the oval. The turf, of course, will be covered. Then there'll be singers and dancers performing in the centre square, putting on a Christmas show with all the trimmings.
And we are so excited when we could approve this plan that it met our requirements at SA Health.
Even waiving mandatory quarantine for a North Pole traveller.
Father Christmas has got his permit and he's coming to South Australia and we're going to enjoy it very much.
While it's great news for the pageant, we did learn this afternoon, though, that Carols by Candlelight just over in Elder Park won't be going ahead. It's been cancelled because there's no way to make that event COVID safe. As for an alternative, a virtual event is being considered because, Bec, even in a difficult year, there are still reasons to celebrate.
Thank you, Chloe. A change of pace for school children around the state this morning on Walk Safely to School Day. Parents also leaving the car at home to clock up the steps, which this year has proven to be more needed than ever.
Stepping into a happier, healthier body and mind.
I just found it quite fun. It was great and I was able to have fun and be with my friends. Didn't have a boring old go in the car.
Taking it in their stride, Stirling East Primary students pounding the pavement for National Walk Safely to School Day.
We did fun questions. You can see your friends.
Children these days can be on screens and in cars quite a lot, so it's really important that we get out and get some fresh air.
It aims to get children moving and teach road safety, but it does much more.
We probably get to talk a bit more.
Children are much more likely to have a good chat when you're not giving them direct eye contact.
This year, children have also been faced with the fear and worry of COVID-19, which has seen a rise in emotional distress.
I was a bit lonely because most of my friends would have already gone homeschooling.
But when we were walking, I forgot about everything.
Research has shown exercise can boost your mood and mental health. Getting out the door on time might be hard, but it's worth it.
We may start to park and walk a bit further in the future.
If I wanted to walk to school as much as I want to every day.
Caroline O'Day for 10 News First.
Will Goodings joins us. Getting dropped from a team is never fun, is it? So Ken Hinkley still hasn't settled on his best 22.
Yeah, there are people running around in the Magoos next week everywhere. Bec, Port have made several changes for tomorrow's match. Those details are coming up. Also, the Giants, talk about a huge statement. They made one at selection, dropping their skipper. And in the US Open, Serena Williams crashes out again in her quest for tennis history. Be back a little bit later, Bec.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Will. Still to come, on fire again. A blaze breaks out at a Lebanon port. A deadly, unstoppable force. California's wildfires claim more lives. And heartbreak as a critically endangered animal dies just days after birth.
Tonight, 6 months to the day since the pandemic was declared. Where do we go from here?
A look into the shocking and little-known side effects of Australia's most common prescription pain medication.
Meet the man completing a marathon solo dance party and making a big difference along the way.
And I try explaining the song WAP over Zoom to an 80-year-old. That's worth tuning in just for that.
It certainly is. All that and a whole lot more coming up at 6:30. See you then.
There have been 9 more deaths in the US as wildfires continue to rage across 3 states on the west coast. Millions of people have been evacuated as authorities brace for the worst.
Escaping what looks like a scene from hell. This driver made it out with just seconds to spare, but others weren't so lucky. There were 9 new deaths from the wildfires overnight, 4 in California, 4 in Oregon, and the most heartbreaking of all, this beautiful 1-year-old in Washington State.
It makes you think of, where would I be if this was my child?
Tragically, there will be more.
This could be the greatest loss of human lives and property due to wildfire in our state's history.
Flames stretch endlessly into the night sky. Already exhausted, despondent fireys at times could only stand and watch, powerless to halt the inferno.
Holy.
Others had more success.
We made a stand here for these 3 homes, which would have probably lit off the whole neighbourhood.
One neighbourhood saved, but so many others left in smouldering ruins. This community in Phoenix, Oregon was levelled with absolutely nothing left.
All the hard work that my parents put into this place, gone.
89-year-old Beth Hill is also homeless after her aged care facility was destroyed.
The centre is burned with all of our things. Everything I own is there. Not only me, but everybody else.
But it's not just possessions people have lost.
I just want to know where the rest of my family is.
Fortunately, Brenda Hampton has her granddaughter.
I played it.
For California, this year has been particularly devastating. Residents repeatedly forced to leave their homes, with the state being torched by 6 of the largest fires in its history.
A couple cars came up with their blue lights and their weird sirens, and they just said everybody out.
And while San Francisco has been spared, there's no missing one of the worst wildfire seasons in American history. Dom Halen for 10 News First.
Donald Trump was back out on the campaign trail today, this time visiting supporters in the swing state of Michigan. But he was again forced to defend comments he made to a journalist earlier this year about the seriousness of coronavirus as it took hold in the US.
This whack job that wrote the book, he said, well, Trump knew a little bit. They wanted me to come out and scream, people are dying, we're dying. No, we did it just the right way. We have to be calm. We don't want to be crazed lunatics.
The Democrats have seized on the revelations. The party's vice presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, slamming Donald Trump for having reckless disregard for lives. Beirut is again shrouded in thick black smoke after a massive fire broke out at the city's port overnight. Flames ripped through the rubble left from last month's explosion, which killed almost 200 people and injured thousands more. It's still unclear how the fire was sparked, but it's believed it began inside a warehouse where oil and tyres are stored. No injuries have been reported. Protesters have again targeted the statue of former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill in London. The wartime leader was branded a racist in bright yellow spray paint. It followed 10 days of demonstrations by the Extinction Rebellion, which included almost 650 arrests. The New Orleans Zoo is mourning the death of an adorable little gorilla. It comes less than a week after the critically endangered animal was born. Zookeepers haven't figured out what happened, but they say its mother Tamani may not have produced enough milk. It's been a warm and sunny week across South Australia, but Kate Freebairn, the weather's turning.
Bec, if you looked out the window this afternoon, you might have noticed dark grey clouds. It was threatening to rain. So far it stayed dry, but it is very humid. Right now it's 29 degrees in Adelaide and it's been our hottest day since April, 11 degrees above average. It really feels like spring is starting to set in. Earlier today, a lot of people headed down to the beach. Our cameras went down to Semaphore and Grange, where some people were so excited about this burst of warmer weather that they brought their towels down and even had a dip. It has become very cloudy this afternoon, but down at the beach, that did not spoil the mood.
Beautiful out here, really calm, a bit overcast, but it's just glorious.
It's beautiful time of year, springtime in Adelaide. It's a bit overcast today, but no breeze. It's a magnificent day for a walk out on the Grange jetty.
Well, spring is always lovely, best time of the year.
There is still a chance of a spot of rain or two tonight, but most likely it will stay dry in Adelaide. The change will arrive tomorrow. We're expecting showers in the morning, increasing to rain through the afternoon, possibly heavy tomorrow night. We're looking at 6 to 15 millimetres. Bec, I'll have your weekend forecast shortly.
Thank you, Kate. Next, shattering the glass ceiling, the first female CEO to be appointed to a major US bank. Saying farewell to Dame Diana Rigg, how Hollywood has remembered the award-winning actress. And later, heads roll at Rio Tinto. Executives step down after the destruction of an Indigenous heritage site.
Hello, Miss Harris.
Good evening. Citigroup has made Wall Street history today. It's named Jane Fraser as its next CEO. She'll be the first female to lead a global bank. Fraser's a 16-year veteran of the bank, and she'll now lead Citi's efforts to manage the economic fallout from the pandemic. In the most recent quarter, Citi's profits plunged 73%, and it was forced to set aside more than $7 billion to cover potential losses. Now, executives at Metcash, the wholesaler that keeps IGA's shelves full of groceries, is worried about what Victoria's continued lockdown will mean for Christmas, saying it'll be very difficult to cater for the festive season's increase in demand, and that it's hard to catch up, let alone to get in front, particularly for regional areas. IGA has joined Woolworths' call for supermarket chains to be allowed to operate at full capacity and not just the 2/3 limit that's currently in place. Now, today all eyes were on Rio stocks after news its chief executive, Jean-Sébastien Jacques, will exit the company alongside two other execs linked to the destruction of an ancient Aboriginal site in May. In response to the move, the Australasian Centre for Corporate Responsibility said shareholder democracy and investor action is alive and well in Australia. So let's take a look at the markets. The ASX finished in the red. Now, that's the fourth straight weekly loss. Now, Rio took a small hit, but that was expected given it was investors pushing for accountability. And the Australian dollar is buying just under 73 US cents.
She played the only Bond girl to make an honest man of the super spy and rocked a leather pantsuit that had Avengers fans panting. Dame Diana Rigg has died from cancer at the age of 82, but as entertainment editor Angela Bishop reports, she was winning new fans. right until the end.
Dame Diana Rigg knew how to make a first impression. This was her debut appearance as Emma Peel on The Avengers, a sexy, confident, witty woman who drove fans wild.
That was very, very dirty.
And she was just as confident off-screen, becoming one of the first women to complain about the lack of equal pay.
When I stepped forward and said, I think it's quite wrong that I'm getting less than the cameraman. And of course then I was painted as this sort of mercenary woman and hard-headed and, you know, money-grabbing and all the rest of it. But it struck me as being unfair, so I spoke out.
Diana Rigg was also a Bond girl, the only one to get the super spy, played by Australia's George Lazenby, to the altar. Spoiler alert. The marriage didn't last.
It's quite a good trick because it means that he has all the right motives deep down underneath. In other words, he is prepared to get married if he loves the girl, but then by some terrible trick of fate, she's taken away from him, and he's suddenly available for all those females again.
Rigg continued to shine on stage and screen, winning a BAFTA, a Tony and an Emmy. And she won a new generation of fans when she starred in Game of Thrones.
I did unspeakable things to protect my family, or watch them being done on my orders. I never lost a night's sleep over them. They were necessary.
Rigg was diagnosed with cancer in March and died peacefully at home. She was 82. Angela Bishop for 10 News First.
Police have been forced to issue a reassurance that the busy Hindley Street station won't be closing. We'll tell you why after the break. Plus, a growing list of horrific child sex abuse allegations against an HIV-positive Adelaide man. And in a national first, 2 Adelaide supermarkets ditch single-use plastic produce bags for compostable ones. This is Adelaide's 10 News First. Tonight's headlines. The man arrested in this controversial confrontation with police at Kilburn has exclusively told us his side of the story. Horror in the city as a man dies after plummeting 17 stories from a high-rise trying to climb across balconies. And public opinion shifts over the fate of 2 boaties thought missing for a week as they played out the huge cost of their rescue mission. An HIV-positive man accused of sexually abusing children will remain behind bars tonight after a judge reversed a decision to grant bail in the face of appalling allegations. The 38-year-old is also accused of possessing some of the worst child exploitation material investigating officers have ever seen.
Jad Brooker is facing 44 child exploitation charges, and prosecutors say that's just the tip of the iceberg. The court today hearing disturbing details that police found a recording of the 38-year-old who's HIV positive saying he wants to infect children with the virus, and that one teenager is now awaiting test results. Brooker listened through video link as a Supreme Court judge reversed a magistrate's decision to release him on bail. Brooker was arrested last month accused of possessing volumes of depraved child abuse material and sexually abusing at least 2 children. Prosecutor Lucy Board revealed police are still in the early stages of the investigation and are uncovering new material each day, and that officers have only been able to go through about 30% of the files on Brooker's devices, with 50,000 messages yet to be analysed.
The court heard allegations Brooker was recorded in a phone conversation with his mother following his arrest, where he asked her to delete Facebook accounts on his behalf.
His family members were in court showing their support.
To support him?
Always. Yeah, he's my son.
Refusing bail, the judge called the allegations appalling and noted one officer referred to the materials as the most degrading he's seen in his 14-year career. Brooker is yet to answer the charges. Kate Summers for 10 News First.
The Police Commissioner has dismissed suggestions Hindley Street could be without a police station for months next year. Commissioner Grant Stevens says a new larger station with modern facilities will be built to service the Hindley precinct, to be completed mid-next year. A lease sign indicates the old site will be available late this year, but Mr Stevens says police won't move out until the new one is ready.
That there will be no disruption to service delivery in the Hindley Street area. We will have a police station presence. We won't be closing one until the other one's ready to open. I can give an absolute assurance on that.
A new site has been identified but is yet to be revealed. The federal government has promised to hand out $50 million in grants to the business events sector. It's in a bid to reinvigorate the tourism industry, but it hinges on borders reopening.
It's a drop in the ocean for the country's business events sector. $50 million has been allocated by the federal government to try and help save tourism and hospitality jobs.
For exhibitions and conferences to be planned and to take place with some certainty and some financial underpinnings.
The proposal would allow grants to help pay for exhibition venues and displays, as well as travel and accommodation.
There are a whole raft of different jobs that depend on the meetings and conferences sector, and we want to help that to get back on its feet.
There's hopes events will restart in 2021. The announcement has been welcomed by the Accommodation Association.
It's about recognising the need for confidence in getting people back into business events across Australia.
In comparison to other funding announcements, $50 million is a conservative amount for the Morrison government. It will be distributed through grants, and businesses right across Australia are being encouraged to apply. But this plan is reliant on borders reopening as soon as possible, and there's no sign of that happening anytime soon.
The more open a state is, the better the opportunity for them to viably conduct a conference or an exhibition is going to be.
The $50 million is actually pretty good. It's the premiers that are letting us down.
New research out today shows domestic tourism grew by $1 billion in June, with the majority of people hitting the regions within their own states. But border closures have brought the aviation sector to its knees. Tiger Airways has become another victim of the pandemic, with the budget carrier officially shutting down.
The border closures create ongoing pressures on the viability of those airlines and threaten jobs across those different sectors.
Stella Todorovic for 10 News First.
A team of contract tracers from Victoria has arrived in Sydney to learn how to improve their work and gain control of the virus. The workers were allowed to skip quarantine due to the urgency of the tasks. It comes as the Victorians doubled down on Melbourne's strict curfew amid criticism over who ordered it.
And let me be really clear with you, the curfew position at the moment will not be changing because it is working.
Contact tracers. Today, Victoria recorded 43 new cases and 9 deaths. A woman handed 6 months in prison for breaching WA's hard border is appealing her sentence. Asha Vandersanden hid inside a car being transported by truck from Victoria, making it all the way across SA. She was found at her boyfriend's Perth home. The 28-year-old's lawyer told a court her sentence is too harsh.
Look, the matter's in the hands of the Supreme Court and we'll get the decision next Tuesday. That's all I'm going to say.
She will learn her fate next week. We've all had bad days at work, but one criminal has had a shocker. Criminal courier Simon Tu crashed his van full of drugs into 2 parked police cars. He'll now spend at least 4 years behind bars.
Running into police was what Simon Tu needed to avoid while couriering $130 million worth of ice. Instead, it was the force's easiest drug bust because he failed to steer clear.
This 26-year-old Barella man has certainly had a very, very bad day. Crashing into police vehicles with that amount of drugs on board is somewhat unheard of.
He's since been labelled Australia's dumbest criminal and has pleaded guilty to supplying more than a large commercial quantity of methamphetamine, being 273 kilograms. He told the court he'd racked up a $15,000 gambling debt and wanted to make quick cash. He expected to be able to pay off his debts and the overheads outstanding on his business, but was acting in self-interest and had no regard for anyone else, in particular the welfare of the community, the judge said. Tu sat slumped over, shaking his head as the judge read out his offences and his poor execution of them. He only sat up to learn how much longer he'll spend behind bars. He was sentenced to 6 years and 6 months in prison, but could be out on parole in 3 years. A so-called micro-sleep that he describes as a wake-up call. Kimberly Pratt for 10 News First.
Two Adelaide supermarkets have become the first in Australia to ditch single-use plastic produce bags. Shoppers instead will put their goods in bags made from cornstarch to help save the environment.
Leading the green way forward.
The fact that they're compostable is probably the biggest selling point for me.
I think it's a fantastic initiative. I think the big supermarkets should really follow on and do the same.
Very important. The world is completely thrashed with the plastics. It's terrible.
Pasadena and Frueville Foodlands have eliminated single-use plastic produce bags throughout their stores, replacing them with fully compostable ones.
It never felt right for us to have the amount of plastic bags going to landfill.
We will see clear environmental benefits of this, and we absolutely hope that other supermarkets get on board as well.
They're made by local company BioBag, which has doubled its workforce in 2 years since going green.
They're made from cornstarch, so as soon as you put them into the organic stream, organisms will start to eat them with no residues left.
The switch will save more than 3 million plastic bags from going into landfill every year across the two supermarkets. It will be more expensive, but the owner says it's worth it.
Legislation passed state parliament this week, banning plastic straws, cutlery and drink stirrers from early next year. But there's no hard ban on plastic bags yet.
I fully expect to move ahead with the legislation and add more items over the coming months and years.
Gemma Chapman for 10 News First.
And we must thank Gemma Chapman, who after 14 years is also finishing up tonight. An outstanding journalist, Gemma.
Yep,
what have you got in sport, Will?
We got some selection news on the way, Bec, with a key crow set to make a comeback. Pleasant thought at the moment. Ken Hinkley's also named his side and has a message for his fringe players. And the NFL kicks off to a chorus of boos. Good evening. A win tomorrow against Essendon would lock in a top 4 finish for Port Adelaide. Ken Hinkley has made 3 changes for the Adelaide Oval clash, and that's where we find Max Burford with all the team news. Max?
Hello, Will. As you mentioned, 3 changes. Of course, 2 of them forced. Zach Butters and Ryan Burton missing out this week. Cam Sutcliffe is the 3rd. He's been omitted. Coming back, Peter Adams gets a shot at redemption. And Brad Ebert and Riley Bonner get a chance to cement their spot. Very relaxed session for the Power Boys this morning as they all rocked up to training in their junior footy kits.
From local college powerhouses to country clubs from all over, the Power Boys went back to their roots today.
I'm sure they would sit in there this morning and have some fond memories of when they put those jumpers on, and hopefully they get another opportunity with another jumper tomorrow to have another fond memory.
The mood was certainly bright. Some even acting like they might still be in the schoolyard.
That's hard, Rock. That's too hard. You threw it out here and then threw it there.
Fair's fair and punishments apply to everyone, even the skipper. Ken Hinkley was happy to bring in Laddams, Bonner and Ebert with a warning to his team. There are no walk-up starters for Port's finals run.
You're going to leave the door wide open for anyone who wants to crash the door down. You know, if you can do that, you're going to get a chance. It's not going to be today, tomorrow or the next day. It's going to be right until we play, right till the end. Everyone's going to have to earn their spot.
Ryan Burton's latest quad injury will only see him miss 2 games and isn't cause for concern, according to the coach.
He works damn hard to get his body right. Now, everyone has a patch or two where their body maybe lets them down a little bit. I don't think it's unusual, but he's going to be a pretty powerful player for a long time.
A win tomorrow guarantees a top 4 finish and another chance for the Power to get the band back together.
And I don't mind if we have an orchestra there by the end of it, as long as we keep winning. It's great that you can see the human side of the game and the celebration. It's really important. This game is really hard to play, and you know those moments to where you share in victory, they're really special moments.
Now, Will, just to wrap it up here from Adelaide Oval, I wanted to take the time on behalf of the Sports Department and the entire newsroom to thank you for your service. It has been nowhere near as long as any of us wanted, but you've taken that role and really brought your own spin to it and made it your own. It's been great to see. So to you and to my good friend Rebecca, we love you both. We're going to miss you both, and we look forward to seeing you guys duke it out on breakfast radio for years to come. So for the last time, Will, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Max. Very kind of you. It's been a lot of fun. Tom Lynch will return to the Crows side after a significant hamstring injury initially put his season in doubt. Coach Matthew Nick says the forward's valuable on-field leadership has been missed the last 4 matches.
For the first time in a month, Adelaide has its linchpin.
No one works harder than Lynchy off the field and continue to lead while he was off field.
Matthew Nicks has named Tom Lynch, who has missed 4 matches with a hamstring strain.
Tom's form coming into that injury he was probably one of our key forwards and key on-field leaders, so it'd be great to have him back.
The coach confirmed he's one of 3 inclusions for Sunday's clash against Carlton. Joining Lynch is Jordan Bunce and the retiring Bryce Gibbs. Daniel Tully is out, while Dave McKay will also miss after failing to overturn his 1-game suspension for a front-on bump.
I've got to be careful with my wording around it. I love the way D-Mac plays, and it's an unfortunate one.
Nicks wouldn't reveal who the third omission would be. However, Taylor Walker has spent the week battling an ankle injury.
We're looking at 50-50 with Tex. Again, it's a 5-day break, it's travel. I'd like to hope he gets up because he's been really important to us over the last month.
The Blues are yet to give up on top 8 aspirations, meaning there is no room for sentiment in Bryce Gibbs' farewell match.
I think our fans will appreciate what he did for the Carlton Footy Club, but I've got no doubt our fans want him to lose this weekend and for us to get the job done, and that's what we'll be going out there to do.
Jace Kemp for 10 News First.
GWS has run out of patience with Stephen Coniglio dumping their $7 million skipper. He's the first captain to be dropped since 1998.
The Giants are describing the decision to axe captain Stephen Coniglio as just a bump in the road.
It was a little bit of a shock. Yeah, everyone's certainly on notice. We know we haven't been playing our best football. But write us off at your peril. We're really looking forward to the game.
While the club hasn't announced who will lead them out, Toby Green is the man tipped to step up.
Yeah, he's a fantastic leader. He'll really spark the group.
GWS faces Melbourne, who has its own concerns with former captain Jack Viney. The free agent has been linked with the move to Geelong. However, coach Simon Goodwin believes his heart beats true for the red and the blue.
I think it comes with the territory of being a free agent. If you're another club, of course you'd be interested, but Jack's a passionate Melbourne man. We love Jack and he loves his footy club.
The D's have been dealt a blow with Angus Brayshaw to have foot surgery and miss the rest of the season. Also looking ahead to next year, Alistair Clarkson has warned against the AFL going with more games and shorter quarters. The Hawks coach says the league must consider the impact of adding too many extra fixtures.
For the decision makers going forward is that the quality of the game needs to be paramount. The money and all that sort of stuff will work itself out, and particularly the money will work itself out if it's a high quality product.
Brendan Shakes for 10 News First.
Serena Williams is out of the US Open, losing from a set-up to Victoria Azarenka. The American injured her ankle with the semi-final tied at 1 set apiece. From there, her dream of a record-equalling 24th Grand Slam crumbled as the Belarusian prevailed.
I was young, my ego was way too big so now it's a little smaller and the results are coming.
Azarenka will play Naomi Osaka in the final. She's looking for her second US Open, having taken the title in 2018. The signs were ominous even before tip-off. LeBron was on, and so too were the Showtime Lakers as Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals against Houston took centre stage. LA put on a dominant display, and although the Rockets made a brief fight back from a 23-point deficit, the King provided the crowning moment off a late fast break.
Up ahead, Rondo all the way, LeBron James!
Anthony Davis scored 29 points as the Lakers won 110-100. They lead the series 3-1. There weren't many in attendance for the NFL season opener due to COVID restrictions, but the boos were still heard during a moment's silence as players linked arms pre-game in a show of unity. On field, the Kansas City Chiefs showed no signs of a Super Bowl hangover.
Mahomes on the move, throws, caught, Hill, touchdown.
The Chiefs crushed the Houston Texans by 14 points. Their coach, lucky to see any of it though, he's through his foggy face shield. A more relaxing day for Caleb Ewan and the peloton on stage 12 of the Tour de France, giving them a chance to check out some of the event's famous elaborate field art. Up the front, a breakaway helped Mark Hershey to a breakthrough win.
Second on the opening weekend in Nice, third on the second weekend. It is heroic Hershey who is victorious.
No major changes in the overall standings. Tonight, the peloton is back in the mountains. Maya Gabira conquered this wave months ago, but only now has it been recognised as a new world record. Since February, scientists have been studying real-world coordinates and using reference points to measure this monster off Portugal. The new benchmark is 22.4 metres, which is more than 13 times her height. So for her skill and courage, Maya can have our play of the day. And Bec, for the second last time, that's all in sport.
Thank you, Will. Kate Freebairn has your weekend weather coming up after the break.
And stay with us too, because we have a very special look back coming up a little later in the bulletin.
Ah! Well, Adelaide feels a lot like the tropics this afternoon. Kate Freebairn, is it going to rain?
Well, Bec, dark grey clouds moved across Adelaide late this afternoon and it felt like it was about to rain, but it's looking like it should stay dry. Today reached 29 degrees. It was our warmest day since April and 11 degrees above average, plus it still feels very humid out here. Tonight our weather photo is a beauty. It comes to us from the Yorke Peninsula. Sarah's always taking incredible photos of the beach. This one was snapped near the blue waters at Innes National Park. Keep your weather photos coming. Use our hashtag #SAWithKate. We love seeing them and we'll keep on showing them next week. In Adelaide overnight it was very mild. Our low was 19 degrees and today our top of 29 came at 2 this afternoon. Currently at 25 degrees here on the River Torrens. Around the suburbs today it was very warm throughout. The top was 30 degrees in Elizabeth and Murray Bridge, 29 degrees in Glenelg, 27 down in Noarlunga and 25 in Mount Barker. Across the state, it stayed very warm overnight, only dropping below 15 degrees in Maitland. Today, it got to 35 degrees up in Coober Pedy and 34 in Ceduna. Port Augusta reached 33, 32 was the top in Port Pirie, 27 in Clare and 25 degrees in Maitland. It reached 28 degrees in Renmark. Further south, it dropped below 10 degrees overnight only on Kangaroo Island. Today, it got to 26 degrees through the Barossa, 25 in Keith. Victor Harbour reached 24, 22 in Port Lincoln and 19 degrees in the Mount. Interstate, Perth's been cold for the start of spring, only reaching 19, cold by its standards, along with Melbourne. Brisbane got to 23 and Sydney had a top of 20. On the satellite photo, a thick band of cloud is sitting in the Bight just off the coast and that's generating showers and the odd storm which have pushed up our South Australian coastline this afternoon. It's with a trough and a cold front tracking across from the west. Tomorrow that trough will bring gusty winds, showers and the odd storm in southern parts of South Australia. Looking around the country, partly cloudy for Brisbane, reaching 23, sunny for Sydney and over in Perth, with rain increasing in Melbourne and a top of 16. In South Australia, tomorrow is looking warm and dry up north, 34 the top in Coober Pedy. The showers will be south of Port Augusta and Whyalla, and later in the day it could get quite heavy. A warm 28 degrees tomorrow in Renmark, with the rain most likely across the agricultural area. 17 degrees the top for Port Lincoln and Victor Harbour, 16 degrees in Naracoorte and 15 degrees on Kangaroo Island and Mount Gambier, with a strong wind warning for the upper west coast. On local waters, seas will stay below 1 metre. It'll be a wet Saturday across the suburbs, 21 degrees in Elizabeth, 20 in Murray Bridge, 19 degrees in Glenelg and 18 degrees in Mount Barker and Noarlunga. In Adelaide, it will most likely stay dry tonight, dropping to 14 degrees. The showers will move in tomorrow morning and they'll become heavier through the afternoon. We're expecting between 6 and 15 millimetres, heading for 20 degrees. Looking ahead, the second half of the weekend is looking good. Mostly sunny and 18 degrees on Sunday, partly cloudy and 18 degrees the top on Monday, and then it's warming up for a sunny 21 degrees on Tuesday.
We have new details of a serial stabber in Findon. Leading the news this hour, a supermarket worker, the latest victim. Plus, Woolworths warns of stock shortages this Christmas, how your festive lunch could be affected. And a whale carcass sparks a shark feeding frenzy off the coast. A 22-year-old man arrested over a stabbing at Findon this morning has also been charged over a separate attack in May. A woman in her 50s was stabbed in the car park of the Findon shopping centre about 7:30 this morning. She was treated by ambulance crews for a wound to the stomach. The attack linked to another stabbing 4 months ago, where a 79-year-old man was knifed in the back while walking along Findon Road. Police made an arrest across the road from the shopping centre just after 11 this morning.
Would have been a dozen cars and plenty of cops. There's a fella from inside the flats there apparently. The cops come down and got a hold of him and took him away.
The man's been refused police bail and will face court on Monday. A man's died after falling from a balcony on the 17th floor of a city apartment building. Tiffany Warren has the details.
It was just before 1 o'clock this morning when police and paramedics were called here to the Central Adelaide apartments on Grote Street after reports a 27-year-old man had fallen from a balcony on the 17th floor. He died at the scene. Now, police are investigating the incident. They believe he was trying to climb onto a neighbouring balcony when he slipped. Other residents horrified to hear the news this morning.
It's terrible. It's terribly sad.
I feel sorry for him and for the family. My wishes are with them.
His next of kin has been notified. There aren't any suspicious circumstances surrounding the incident.
Thank you, Tiff. Volunteers involved in the search for boating buddies Tony Higgins and Derek Robinson have labelled their actions reckless. The pair was found on board their leaky wooden fishing boat following an extensive 4-day air and sea search. The skipper has been fined $1,000 for carrying an out-of-date EPIRB and flares.
It was very irresponsible. It would have been so much easier if the radios had been on.
Very costly exercise by the time you put a good few helicopter hours into it as well.
Authorities are urging all boaties to check the safety equipment on their vessels. Adelaide's Christmas pageant will go ahead this year, but in a format like never before. As Chloe Burris explains, Father Christmas will make his arrival at Adelaide Oval and under lights.
Well, not even coronavirus can stop the magic of the Christmas pageant. It will go ahead this year. It's 88th year here at Adelaide Oval instead. Traditionally, more than 300,000 people line the streets of Adelaide to see the floats and, of course, Father Christmas. SA Health has been working with pageant organisers for months to try and come up with a COVID-safe solution, and they've got it. An arena spectacular here at Adelaide Oval. It'll be a 2-hour event at twilight. The floats will go around the oval. There'll be singers, dancers, a performance, and of course, Father Christmas, we've been told, has been given an exemption from South Australia's tight border restrictions.
It's been a difficult year, but we want to end the year with celebration as we do every year with the pageant leading into Christmas. And what I can tell you is that Father Christmas has got his permit and he's coming to South Australia and we're going to enjoy it very much.
Of course, on everyone's wish list this year will be a ticket to the event. Only 25,000 people will be allowed. It'll be free, but names will have to go into a ballot.
Thanks, Gail. The Food and Grocery Council has moved to allay fears produce could be in short supply at Christmas because of COVID restrictions. Supermarket shelves need to stay full while there are limits on distribution warehouses.
There's always a mad dash to the shops at Christmas, but fears of empty shelves this December have some shoppers on edge.
Well, we may not be experiencing the shortages today, and we may not be experiencing them next week. Come Christmas, it may be a different story.
Others say plenty can change more than 3 months out.
It's probably a little bit of hype. We'll ride it out.
The industry says there will be no food shortages.
We're pretty confident that manufacturing, both in Victoria but also elsewhere in Australia, will make sure that there's plenty of product on the supermarket shelves.
But we might have to go to multiple stores for the products we want. Woolworths says that will happen if restrictions on distribution centres and warehouses aren't lifted. The Premier insists they're still working it out.
It's not going to be a normal Christmas, but we don't want it to be a lockdown Christmas.
We won't be able to see one of our much-loved Melbourne institutions, with Myers Bourke Street Mall Christmas window display cancelled for the first time in more than 60 years.
It's a really sad day
Obviously, we're going to invest a lot in lots of events over the Christmas period to get people back into the city, but very sad to see that we won't have the Myer Christmas windows being part of that.
Those events are expected to have limited numbers or be virtual, and that's likely to be the case too with the traditional photo with Santa, while other festive fun has been silenced by the pandemic. Some local councils have already made the tough call to move their carols by candlelight online.
My 5-year-old loves to sing songs, so we'll still sit there with a candle in our house and sing the songs along as they come on.
At this point, we're all desperate for a bit of Christmas cheer. Annie Kearney for 10 News First.
A whale carcass has sparked a shark feeding frenzy off the New South Wales coast. It's forced the closure of a popular beach, but it didn't stop two boaties getting a little too close.
A predator of the deep getting closer and closer. Over here. The great white shark circles a fishing boat just 50 metres off Bulletin Beach. A pair of friends entertain it before it strikes.
Come have a look. Come around. Oh, it's a body there. Oh, you fucking hard.
That was sick. Jake Brisbane and Joel Oliver were out fishing until their boat became the bait.
Oh, you fucking hard.
A school of large sharks have spent the last 24 hours off the south coast after a whale washed up against the rocks at Bulletin Beach on Thursday.
Just shows you how dangerous it can be when you're too close to these wild animals.
Bulletin and Sandpoint beaches were forced to close.
You can see the fin under the water though, but yeah, it looks nothing like a whale.
It is actually. I wouldn't be going in the water today.
I find it quite fascinating to see the predator-prey cycle.
The dead whale was towed by boat here to the Bellambi boat ramp. It was pulled from the water and now heavy machinery is being used to dispose of it. And for mates Joel and Jake, it was a morning to remember. Michael Hammond for 10 News First.
A final break of news and sport is coming up next, including an Australian family's plea for help as Japan suspends its search for a sunken cattle ship. Families of two young Aussies lost at sea have begged Japanese authorities to not give up searching for their missing ship. The last known position of Gulf Livestock 1 off the coast of Japan came in a distress call last Wednesday.
With seawater flooding the engine room...
Really safe. Really safe.
William Mainprize tried to make light of a terrifying situation. Stuck in a typhoon on a cattle ship, Will sent these videos to his mate Harry just hours before it capsized. Will, an animal lover, was working as the stock welfare officer. Among his last texts to Harry, "Engine is off and we are floating sideways in huge sea."
He was scared, but he was up and ready to go.
But 9 days on, loved ones of Will and fellow missing Aussie vet Lucas Order have been dealt another cruel blow, with the search all but called off.
We are speaking with our hearts in our hands. We beg you not to stop looking for Lucas and the other people missing at sea.
A survivor picked up by the Japanese Coast Guard has confirmed the crew was prepared.
Before the accident happened, everyone was wearing life vests. The captain called everyone to go to the bridge to enter the lifeboats.
They're pleading with the Australian government to help. Importantly, no bodies have been found, even though cow carcasses have been sighted.
Will has the strongest fighting spirit and we need to have that as well. I'm very confident that he's on a raft and we need to keep searching so we can try and find them.
Please help us. Bring them all home. Please. Thank you.
Ali Donaldson for 10 News First.
The US has stepped up its response to the poisoning of key Russian opposition figure Alexei Navalny. Its deputy ambassador to the UN has threatened to restrict funding to anyone suspected of being involved in the attack.
Russia has used chemical nerve agents
from the Novichok group in the past. The Russian people have a right to express their views without fear of retribution of any kind. They should certainly not be subjected to chemical agents.
Doctors say Navalny's condition is improving to better than expected. Will is back for the final time. Port's made 3 changes.
We've got one last chance to get it right, Bec. Headlined by the return of Peter Ladhams from his COVID breach suspension, the ruckman has been brought straight back in after sitting out for 3 games. He's worked hard to impress the coaches, but there's still some more to be done.
Yeah, I just want to go out there and just sort of get the respect and the trust back of not only the players but the coaching staff and also the supporters.
They know they let their teammates down. Their best opportunity to get their trust totally back is by game day performance, and that's their #1 thing to do.
Brad Ebert and Riley Bonner are the other inclusions. Butters, Burton and Sutcliffe are out. There's speculation the teams could play as many as 28 games next season, but Crows coach Matthew Nix isn't a fan.
Keep the shorter quarters. It's going to change the type of players that are dominating games. I think we saw a change this year with that. If it goes to 28 games in a season, what does that mean for the sort of player we're after?
The Crows have confirmed at least 3 inclusions against Carlton. Tom Lynch is back from a hamstring injury. Jordan Butts returns along with the retiring Bryce Gibbs, while Daniel Talia and David McKay won't play in Sunday's clash. Another milestone for the Hub's Misfits today. It was Team Photo Day in the Quarantine Hub. The collegiate approach between the clubs saw Gary Ablett play timekeeper in between drills before dishing out a dose of reality to 4-time Premiership Hawk Jared Ruffhead.
You get the itch back for 5 or so minutes, and then when you're doing one-on-ones with Gaz, you work out pretty quick that once you're on the other side, it takes a fair bit to get back.
Ruffhead is bullish about Dan Hanbury's chances and believes the Saints could play in round 18. Matt Renshaw has revealed Travis Head played a part in him signing with the Strikers. The left-hander spoke to the Strikers skipper before agreeing to a 3-year deal. Renshaw believes the move is what his career needs after he was forced by Queensland officials to take a break from cricket last summer.
Yeah, I think the Big Bash is sort of a new start for me. Gives me a little chance to sort of get away from the comfort of Brisbane and that sort of thing.
In Manchester, Nathan Lyon is likely to be overlooked for tonight's one-dayer against England. However, he still thinks there's a World Cup spot for him in 2023.
Obviously got a taste of a World Cup here last year. Unfortunately, we didn't walk away where we wanted to get to. But yeah, that's a big goal of mine to be part of that World Cup squad and hopefully a winning World Cup squad in India.
Lyon hasn't played an ODI for more than 12 months. Serena Williams is out of the US Open, her hunt for a record-equalling 24th Grand Slam on hold. For the first time in a major, she lost to Victoria Azarenka, going down in 3 sets.
Since 2008, Victoria Azarenka has been trying. Finally, US Open finals to Serena. As a 31-year-old mum, she feels ready to win one.
Wow, it's been 7 years. That's my favorite number, so I guess that's meant to be.
Serena made a blistering start, taking the first set 6-1. She had Azarenka looking within, trying to find composure. The Belarusian says she used to hate tennis. It was a job, but now she's playing for fun.
She had Serena on a string.
The match levelled, Serena grabbed at her ankle in the third set. It needed to be retaped. And from then on, it was only Azarenka firing on all cylinders. Motherhood, divorce and a bitter custody battle behind her, Azarenka will be a humble champion if she wins a 3rd major.
I was young, my ego was way too big so now it's a little smaller and the results are coming.
Naomi Osaka and Jennifer Brady played out a tense 3-setter.
That is so good.
Osaka is the top-earning female athlete on the planet, making 51...
being positive and not really caring if I win or lose, but just knowing I put in 100% effort.
Bence Hammerly for 10 News First.
And Bec, it feels a little different to say, but that's all from me in sport.
Sorry, I had my farewell all in my head.
No, you go. You do you.
We say goodbye to you after 2 wonderful years. I wish it was so much longer. It's been an absolute pleasure having you share the desk with me.
That's kind of you to say, Bec. Thank you. I just want to say A big thanks to all of our wonderful employees and colleagues here. This is a newsroom that's gone through more than its fair share of difficulty and challenges in the past, and the people that have come through it have proven to be among the most talented and humble that you'd ever like to work with. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here. They've welcomed in a radio bloke with bad hair and perhaps the worst sporting resume of anyone to read sport in the history of television, and it's been a pleasure. And what's more, I've got the thrill of sitting at the desk next to someone who, over a period spanning more than 3 decades, in fact, it's not about age, it's about longevity, who has been the face of a TV network in this town. And it's been a thrill and it's been an honour, and I just wish all the people we work with all the best in their future endeavours.
I really like you in that green pea coat.
I've kept that.
You should keep...
Can we say that?
Yeah, I think you're allowed to keep that. You have been a true professional. The way you have taken to TV presenting like a duck to water, I'm actually jealous. So
you're a good teacher.
Thank you, Will, and all the best for the future.
Thanks, Bec.
More coming up after the break. No. Adelaide's had its hottest day since April. And Kate Freebairn, how hot did it get?
Bec, today it reached 29 degrees in Adelaide, which is 11 degrees warmer than average for this time of year. And it's also been very humid. The warm day followed on from a very warm night. Our low was 19 degrees and it's still 24 degrees here on the Torrens. On the satellite photo, we can see a thick band of cloud that's stretching across the Bight, and that's generating showers. It's with a trough and a cold front tracking across from the west. Around the country tomorrow, sunny in Sydney and Perth with rain in Melbourne. In South Australia, tomorrow will be warm and dry up north. The showers will be south of Port Augusta and Whyalla. Looking further south, the rain will be heavier, especially during the afternoon. On local waters, seas will stay below 1 metre. It's looking like a wet Saturday across the suburbs tomorrow, 19 degrees in Glenelg and 18 degrees in Mount Barker and Noarlunga. In Adelaide, it will most likely stay dry tonight, dropping to 14 degrees. The showers will move in tomorrow morning. They'll become heavier in the afternoon. We're looking at between 6 and 15 degrees, heading for 20 tomorrow. Looking ahead, the second half of the weekend's looking good, mostly sunny and 18 degrees the top on Sunday. Drying up, partly cloudy next week, 18 degrees to start the week on Monday, and then it really warms up. By the middle of next week, we're all the way back up at 26 degrees before the showers return on Thursday and Friday for a rainy finish to the week. Well, tonight is the end of an era for us at 10 Adelaide. We're saying goodbye to so many great people behind the scenes who've worked really hard. Plus, of course, we farewell Bec and Will. Firstly, Will, thank you so much for being such a lovely person to work with. Ever since you first walked in the door 2 years ago, you've been such a professional, amazing since day one. I can hardly remember one mistake from you. And Bec, I think everyone knows that you and I are great friends. I will really miss having you at the desk next to me every day. I'm joking up here. You've made coming to work so much fun, and we'll be listening to both of you on the radio. Good luck, and we'll miss you.
Thank you, Kate. And please stay with us next week, because Kate continues on the weather and we are so lucky to have your local presence. So thank you. Congratulations on that role, Kate.
Bec, you've been the leader of this team for years. You're the face of Channel 10 in this town, and it's only fitting that you take us out for the final time tonight.
Thank you, Will. Look, firstly, I'd just like to acknowledge and thank my colleagues who are also finishing up today, including the crew that works behind the scenes, all you guys, hair and makeup, every night to put this bulletin to air. I consider myself incredibly lucky to have had a job that I love, in a team that I love, for more than 14 years, and I leave just grateful for that. Thank you to my family for their support. Apologies in advance. I'm now in charge of the cooking. And look, finally and most importantly, to all of the South Australians who've tuned in to get their news from us over that time, thank you. And good night.
That's great.
Hey! Anybody else coming?
Oh, that's a lot of Perfect.